Hey fam, happy Wednesday. Peace and love. Tracy Angelica Clark here. And today we have Amanda from the Earl Grey Stray, correct?
Mhm.
And it is a cafe. It's going to be a tea house as well as a cat cafe. Tell us a little bit about the concept. Do you already have the tea house or is that part a work in progress?
So the Cat Cafe and the Tea House is a work in progress. Currently, we're still just a very small rescue. The end goal is to open up the Cat Cafe and the Tea House, which, for anybody who is unfamiliar with, I'm sure, this super niche concept, a cat cafe is part cafe and part cat adoption center. So the cafe allows people to get coffees, teas, small like scones, things like that. Things you would, picture Starbucks and that kind of thing. And then there's a room to the side that is housing these adoptable cats. So
Mhm.
cats do really well outside of shelters. Generally, when they're in shelters, they're very easily stressed. They don't tend to show their true personalities when in a cage.
Mhm.
So cat cafes allow them to free roam in an environment that's a little more natural to them, somewhere that they are used to. So they're allowed to be a little more comfortable and show their personalities and make it a little bit easier for adopters to see them.
Okay, and so out of curiosity, I want to say I might have heard of a cat cafe once or twice. But out of curiosity, do the cats come every day, or do they stay there as well until they're so is it part housing for them while they're waiting to get adopted?
Yep. So it functions as like housing for them, so that way they have a safe place that they can live while they're
Mhm.
waiting for their forever home. And then also, through that, there's the foster networks as well that help us bring in more cats as they're adopted in and out and all. Like, um, so it's a nice in between where it's not a shelter that has a lot of cats, but it's a small intimate setting that they can be comfortable and interact with other cats and people.
Okay, and then when it comes to the phase you're in with the nonprofit, where are you at right now? Are you at the building phase? When did you get started?
So I got started. I would say this has probably been formally. I started about October. So that was when all the paperwork was filed and everything was legally stamped. In terms of me doing anything cat related, um, for the most part, the Earl Grey Stray has kind of been on the back burner in terms of my own life. So I've been doing TNR with other groups. I've been fostering kittens. I've been helping people, rehome their cats, housing their cats for them. I've been pretty much knee deep in cat shenanigans since 2014. So, so the Earl Grey Stray is the next step in that.
Gotcha. Okay, and so tell me how you fell in love with cats.
So I've always been an animal person.
Mhm.
Um, I had dogs growing up, really into just animals in general. And then 2014 in the summer, I got a text from a friend that they found a cat on a mini golf course. So me and my friends, being a group of college kids, we were like, we're going to take care of this cat. So we would take turns every day going to feed this cat and take care of her, making sure that she had food and water and, was taken care of each day. And then kind of, get to October, it's no longer warm. And we need to bring her inside. So made some calls, did some pleading, and ended up taking her from the mini golf course to my grandmother's house, where she had a nice covered porch.
Mhm.
Um, from there, I found out she was pregnant,
Oh.
as the classic. Found out she was pregnant. She had 5 kittens. I've kept one of the kittens and her. So Sushi and Potato have been with me since 2014, and from there I've at least fostered over 20 some cats and kittens, and then I have 8 of my own.
Oh my goodness. How do you manage that?
Surprisingly, you just let them do whatever they want, and then it works.
Yeah, and I guess when you have multiples, I have several family members who have multiple cats. Guys, as you're joining in, tell me where you're joining in from so I can shout you out. But I have several family members who have multiple cats, and it seems like I guess once it's all kind of the same system. You feed them all. You feed one, you feed them all.
Yep.
You have a sleeping split. You have all the cat toys. They all kind of play with them and things like that. So, yeah, because it looks awfully quiet for that many cats.
I know. I'm surprised, honestly, but everybody, at least from what I can see, is currently sleeping. So it's nap time, and that's perfectly fine with me.
Time. Well, tell me a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit before I joined on about the fostering process because a lot of people right now, and we'll also talk about momentarily how the pandemic has kind of affected your getting started with your nonprofit. But a lot of people are at home right now, and this is kind of the perfect time to add another member to take care of someone, kind of get your mind off of what's going on a little bit. How does the foster process work?
So fostering, you tend to you apply. So kind of similar to the adoption process, but you apply to be a foster. So if you apply to be a foster and you are accepted, if I end up with a cat that needs somewhere to be, I can go, hey Tracy, are you available to take this cat? You then house the cat. The rescue would pay for the medical expenses and any food or anything like that. And you would be you would house the cat. So you are there to make sure the cat is happy and healthy and there he is. Hello, Biscuit.
What's this one's name?
This is Biscuit.
Hi, Biscuit.
Biscuit. Where are you going? You going up there?
Like, whatever.
He's probably gonna launch himself up in a second, so don't be too surprised.
So you were saying with the foster that I didn't even know that they take care of all of the expenses outside of housing the cat. And then what's the next step? So if you're accepted, what does the exception process look like, or what wouldn't get? How would you be denied? Is it like maybe if you have small children, or? Sorry. They always are they like regular kids that as soon as you get on a Zoom call or a phone call, they know you're distracted. So
absolutely. I can see him in the vacuum, like, what are you doing? But it all kind of depends on the foster. So there's different rescues do it differently. So some rescues will prefer fosters to have, no kids or no cats, or there's other ones that if you're a good fit for fostering, you can foster. So it's all just a very individual process, because obviously each cat that's coming in will have different needs. So having fosters with a variety of different lifestyles helps those cats as well. So if cats are used to kids, they may be more comfortable in a house with children. If the cats are used to dogs, they're going to be okay with a house that has dogs. If they're not comfortable with any other animals or children, there's people that are just single. So there you go. That's, a single cat in a single household is great.
That works out. Awesome. Yeah. And then do you know when you get the foster, so everything works out, your next step is you have the cat, do you know how long the foster period is going to last, or what happens after that?
So it kind of depends. So there's long-term fosters where they'll be there until they're adopted out, or there's short-term fosters where okay, for 3 weeks or 2 months or 6 months, there's a set time frame to that.
Oh, I like that. I didn't know that either. So you can say, hey, this is for 3 months, and that's it. Okay, awesome. That's some good information. We love animals, but at the same time, I wouldn't say I don't know. That sounds bad. I wouldn't say we don't love animals. I would say that we're not necessarily animal people as far as being able to take care of them properly. So I love the idea. I love seeing someone with a nice lazy dog just sitting there oh yeah, I can rub on them and just do all that stuff, the fun stuff. I like the fun stuff, but don't necessarily want the not so fun stuff. And I know when it comes to cats, they have a little bit less of the not so fun stuff because they're more of a clean animal. They're more of litter box trained, not necessarily taking them out, things like that.
Their own quirks.
They've got their own quirks.
Yeah, there's dental. Dental is where it gets you. That was something I did not know going in when I like had a bunch of, getting a cat. Yeah, they I can't remember what it is called, but it's like a condition where their white blood cells will see plaque on their teeth, and then it will attack the teeth itself. So it causes the teeth to become inflamed and hurt. When like it's just the plaque. So that causes they have to be extracted.
Oh wow! I've never heard of that. Yeah.
One of those things.
No idea. Well, getting back a little bit to like the pandemic and things like that, and you starting your nonprofit during the pandemic. Well, first off, did it affect your start date? Did you know you wanted to do this even prior to the pandemic starting?
Yeah. So I kind of planned it for earlier this year, and then March hit. So my plan was to do it in March, and then that got pushed back to April, and then May, and then June, and then August, and then October. I was like, I got to do it. If I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it until next year, and I can't wait. I cannot wait any longer. I need to get started. So October, I said, I'm doing it. That's it. Nothing else.
That is awesome. And so you feel like you were just like, okay, I've delayed for so long. I'm ready to go ahead and take the first step. Did you end up utilizing someone to do your legal setup and things like that? Do you utilize a nonprofit coach, or did you kind of self-learn everything?
I've been kind of self-learning, and then I actually I used your paper like template guide.
Nonprofit checklist. That's awesome.
That has helped me so much, because I'm like, a lot of when I started, I was going through the small business development center, which is usually for profit. And then once I was like, you know what, going nonprofit is the way to go, just in general. All of those resources kind of didn't work for nonprofits. So it was a lot of Googling and a lot of going, am I doing this right? State of New Jersey, what is happening? How do I do this? I'm good. Like, just days upon days of me. I'm sure my internet search history is 1.5 miles long at this point, with me Googling different, is this okay to do? What is this allowed to be? What do I need for this thing? It's a lot. So that checklist helps so much.
No problem.
Otherwise I was all over.
I'm glad that helped. It's definitely another world, the nonprofits, even in comparison to business, because I started off in business and it was like a whole nother world. So much information out there. It can definitely be overwhelming at times. But I've definitely noticed that some of the groups are really beneficial as well. I think that's how we linked, is in one of the groups. And those groups, guys, if you're not involved in the nonprofit groups, you can just do a search and you'll find tons of new nonprofit groups just starting, all kind of different names. But getting involved in those is really beneficial. What tips would you give for someone who's been wanting to start a nonprofit, or specifically a nonprofit even when it comes to animal rescue in some type of way, and they're just waiting to take that first step? What would you say to them if they've just kind of been delaying for some reason, kind of saying?
So for animal nonprofits specifically, I would 100% get involved with other groups. So that's the biggest learning thing, is talking to people that do animal rescue, getting out there and doing animal rescue, doing a variety of different things. So like with cats, there's regular fostering and adoption and kitten, then you get into things like bottle feeding kittens, and TNR and SNR, which is like Shelter-Neuter-Return and Trap-Neuter-Return. So those are two very different worlds in comparison to the usual here's a cat, here's the adoption process, here's how you foster, here's advertising these cats. So it's all very different. But you just get out there and try different things, find what you're good at, and then find other people that are also good at those things.
That is awesome. That's really good tips because it seems like you naturally did that and started kind of probably from that college experience, just getting that background of the process. So it's like a natural flow for you to create your own nonprofit. Where are you all at now at this stage? Are you fundraising? Are you starting to work on looking for a place for the cafe, or what's the biggest project you're working on right now?
So currently my project is I have an Indiegogo started, just kind of as a two-part thing. So I always wanted to get the community involved from the start. So the Indiegogo was kind of my way of bringing people into the project and introducing them and letting them be a part of it. Um, if anybody wants to check it out, you can find
Absolutely.
it on my Facebook page. Um,
Awesome. We're going to put those links under here as well, your Facebook page, your website, and things like that. So tell me a little bit about the Indiegogo. I don't know if I've heard of that one.
so Indiegogo is like a crowdfunding site, um,
Okay.
similar to like Kickstarter
Like
kind of thing.
Kickstarter. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So Indiegogo is similar to Kickstarter. They kind of feature the same things. You can have perks and different reward tiers. Um, Mine vary from, if you donate, I think it's $15, 10 or $15. You can feature your cat's name on one of our cat trees, or you send in your photo and it becomes a part of the cafe in some way, shape, or form. And then you get into other things, get a t-shirt, I have tote bags, just kind of different little things that give back to you while also helping me get started and get rolling. Because
Awesome. Is that something that you would also suggest to other nonprofits? Has it been a smooth process on Indiegogo?
yeah, Indiegogo has been very easy to use. The honestly, the hardest part was starting.
Mhm.
So just going over, looking over everything, kind of perfecting what you want, really getting the feel of what you want out of the Indiegogo and what you want from the Indiegogo. So I realize when you're crowdfunding, it's a weird way that I don't like asking for money, but I also need to ask for money.
Yes.
Given the nature of like what's going on, like, so it's a good way to bring people in and make them feel like they are a part of the process, because they are,
Yeah.
especially with the kind of project that I'm leading is, it's a community thing. The only way I can help these cats is, by educating people. People being educated, they can become educated coming to the cafe. They can become educated, coming to my Facebook page, seeing my posts, seeing other people go places, just giving people that knowledge to go out and help the other cats that are in the neighborhoods that I'm not in, because I'm only one person, but
Right.
one person can make a difference, and that's the main thing.
Absolutely. So doing what you can, and the great thing about the cat community is most of them they love cats, so it becomes easy
Yeah.
when you're talking to the right people. They want to support in some type of way. One of the biggest challenges that I've found when it comes to nonprofits that are looking for a building is paying for a building.
Yeah.
That portion of it, that commercial real estate can be expensive. Have you had any challenges in that area as you guys are looking for the location?
So I have like a location in mind. I even spoke to the property manager, like just to kind of see how much it would be. It's kind of it's one of those like dream spaces. So it is a new space. There's nothing in it. I would be able to remodel it the way that I want to. It would be it's an open slate, so I can design it how I want. I can have everything customized to me, to my nonprofit, to the cats. Um, and especially when it comes to cats and food, you need that level of separation. So
Yeah,
that's a separate HVAC system. It's a whole bunch of different like just technical things in and of itself. So having that open shell really is beneficial to me, at least in the long run. But just kind of going through that process and seeing, what loans are available, how much it's going to be. Uh, it's a lot. So I'm still kind of learning that bit as well.
have you had the opportunity to start looking at like grant funding or apply for any grants or anything like that yet?
I started looking at grants. most of them are closed at the moment. So
Oh yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
The one like
Mm-hmm.
deadline was like the day before I saw it. I was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping an eye out for grants for next year. Plus, COVID has also kind of done some weird things with the grants as well, because there's been
Yeah.
a lot that I've looked into that they're like not doing anything until we figure this out. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
understandable. I do not blame you.
Absolutely. There's definitely been some adjustments, and they've been really, a lot of the nonprofits that are not linked to, essential things that COVID has deemed essential. They're kind of putting on the back burner for now because, they're focused on housing and, food and things like that. And so that has been a bit of an adjustment. But at the same point in time, I've also seen some of the foundations also start to make their adjustment and be ready to restart now. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, now we need to just figure out how to still help in the areas that we need to help in and things like that. So that's definitely awesome. One thing I would ask is for some of the individuals that are wanting to support and things like that, and of course you're working on getting the cafe component together. Are there some things that the nonprofit is doing currently as well? I guess outside of the how many cats do you have? That in itself is what or how what can we say that for those who want to donate and they know that maybe the building is coming up here, where would the funds go to for now, or would it just be for that particular project?
So the funds for now are kind of a nice buffer, just because we are new. A lot of the stuff needed that we can do right now. TNR, which is Trap-Neuter-Return, it's a feral cat program. So you see a feral cat, they usually are very prominent in cities and rural counties, which is a lot of what we have around here. So you go out, you trap these cats, you get them spayed and neutered, and then you return them back to their home. So these cats are then taken care of by feeders, and they're up to date on their shots. They're taken care of, but they're just not house cats. So COVID put a lot of that work on the back burner. A lot of places were closed, so we've had a very hard kitten season, which is usually the time frame in which kittens are born. So it's generally getting earlier, and it's growing larger each year just because weather-wise. But COVID not allowing anybody to get out there and really do some major projects put so much on, like so much behind. That's kind of where I'm focusing right now, is trying to get people together and just helping these cats locally, because a lot of these people, I just did one last night. A woman has been taking care of a cat that a neighbor put out in her apartment complex, and she was worried with the snow that was coming, that she wouldn't, she was not going to make it. So I went out on Monday and tried to trap her. Was not successful Monday night. Somebody had stolen my trap, so I had to call. Yeah, so that's also really fun. So had to call up some backup and see if I can get another trap out there. Went out last night, managed to trap her. So now she, snow is falling right now as I speak out the window, and she is currently comfortable inside, waiting to be spayed and put into a foster program.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And it's so needed. I mean, when you think about it, especially in the city, but just in general, people see random cats all the time,
Exactly.
and, so that, and I didn't even know, it's funny, just the education component of it. I think I was telling you, we had a cat for a brief moment. A funny story about this cat that I don't think I got to tell you is the cat always acted really specifically to me. It's just like kind of was a little bit aggressive and just a little like, just would scare me a little and all these things. But we found out, and this is just so embarrassing. We found out after we had the cat for like a year and a half. My husband's one of his one of his friends father came, and he's like kind of country, and he came out and he's like, well, what's the cat name of your cat? And we were like, Lucy. And she had like pink nails. I would always do her nails pink, and the little stick on things.
So cute.
And he's saying Lucy. That's my husband right there. He's like, not the cat story. Well, come to find out, he was like,
Every
that's a funny
time.
name. That's a funny name for a boy cat. And we were like, what? This cat has been a boy the whole. As soon as he showed us, we were like, duh, like this is and that's
They're
probably
very
why.
obvious. I had the exact opposite happen with actually the same kind of thing. I was given my cat Lasagna was given to me by a family that could not keep him, and I just moved into an apartment. Like, my cat was lonely, so I was like, oh, I'll get him a friend. It'll be great. Because his mom does not want to deal with him. She just wants to be a little old lady, hang out, do her own thing. So I'm like, you know what? He'll have a friend. It'll be great. And they told me she was a girl. I was like, okay. Went to go get her spayed, and went to go pick her up. She was a big fluffy cat. Went to go pick her up, and they handed me an envelope that said, congratulations, it's a boy, with a refund because the cost for a spay is more than a neuter.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, did you guys give me the right cat?
That is hilarious. And now that we think about it, that was the issue. That's why she was so, he poor
That'll
thing
do it.
was so, because we didn't even know that he needed it, and we were just so it was just hilarious that we didn't know. And I'm like, that would make me kind of crazy too. Someone's been treating me like a girl the whole time. But it was the same thing. They told us it was a girl, and we just never thought twice. For getting a kitten, it's a girl. Awesome, so
especially the fluffy one. I was like, yeah, no, less than a year old, fluffy, like, because every cat that I've had since has been very obvious when they're a boy. So I'm like, where were you hiding these?
Definitely hilarious.
They're fluffy, but not that fluffy.
What would you say right now is your number one? Well, number one, what's your biggest challenge that you found after starting the nonprofit? And then also, what's your biggest need?
Biggest challenge, aside from just in general COVID, it's kind of navigating like what I want. So a cat cafe is something that's kind of strange, and it's relatively new. So I've been in contact with a few other folks that have opened them. So just learning as much as I can as I'm going along with that aspect. Because I've got the cats down. That's the easier part of all this. But it's also just being a one-woman show at the moment. So, I had my trap stolen on Monday. I now have no traps. So that is now going to set me back personally doing anything until I can get at least another one. So that, and then it's the other biggest thing is vet bills. My current foster that I have right now is she's 12 weeks. No, not 12 weeks. Oh my goodness. She's roughly 4 months old. I don't know where 12 weeks came from. Keeping track of everybody. But she's about 4 months old. But she also has a misformed diaphragm. So like her needs are a bit different than like, a normal kitten's would. And like a normal kitten, you have to go from, your vaccines, your deworming, your, just in general vet checkups, your rabies shots, your spay and neuter, and then any other thing that may pop up because, somebody gets a sniffle, you need to get that taken care of. Somebody gets a finger crossed, we got to go get that taken care of. Like, it's a bunch of different things that can really add up fast. And that's where most of that money ends up really going, is to covering vet expenses.
Absolutely. And I know some of the, at least in our area, some of the humane societies and things like that are overwhelmed right now with everything there, especially with COVID. A lot of people, I know that at least here, a lot of the adoptions and things like that have been down because, there's a lot of other priorities and things like that. that people have as well. So it's so beneficial and for other nonprofits like yourself to be coming in and relieving some of that weight and just helping out where you can. You mentioned something earlier, which is just like doing what you can do. Sometimes you think about a big project or what you really want to do or the vision of it, and it becomes overwhelming. Like, oh, but that's so much, but each little step really does add up. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because that's how I got here, is just doing, one little thing at a time, and then realizing all of these little things I'm doing, I can help people do through this nonprofit, which kind of led me to sitting right here and talking to you about starting the nonprofit and getting it up and running. And just, it's a lot to undertake, and it is worth it.
Yes. That's why it's so important, that first part of that checklist, guys. And for some reason you're watching this and you don't have the checklist, it's free. Just go to our clarkandclark.org and download it. And the first part there is making sure that it's something you're passionate about. And something that, because then when the work and all of the things do come up, which it does, you work on it just like anything else that's going to be big. You're going to put work in. But if it's something you're passionate about, it makes it a labor of love. So you know that, what, okay, I know this is hard to feel, but this is something that I know I'm supposed to be doing. So that's typically step one. Absolutely. Yeah. Which I could definitely tell. I know that you happen to be in some nonprofit groups. Are you also in, I just assume, some cat groups as well, as far as, which is great. And that's great, guys. The groups are so engaged right now, and people are doing a lot inside of groups amongst business, nonprofits, donations, things like that. It's basically niching down what you're doing with your nonprofit. So basically you're taking a group of people, finding groups of people that would just be most likely to support it. That's all. So that you're talking to those people, and that you can, in the end, in the nonprofit groups, it's other nonprofits. So you're learning from them, learning tips and tricks and things like that. So you're doing that already. And I think that's a great tip for new nonprofits that are, get started, is just getting around a community of other people that are also doing something similar, Yeah. So I did look at your website, and I will give you a couple of tips now as we wrap up here. Oh, right at that 30 mark. Awesome. Let me glance one more time. I love the logo and the name, the Earl Grey Stray. I like how it has like a ring to it. Have you had that name did you have that in your head for a long time before you started off?
I actually went through like a couple of names. It's so I started off wanting just to be the Stray Cat Cafe. And then I did some Googling, and there's already one that is not a cat cafe, but is just a cafe that is themed around cats somewhere else. So I'm like, that's not good for branding. That's not where you want to be. And then kind of just bounced around a couple like more ideas, but I kept coming back to Stray because my cat was a stray. Every cat I've pretty much every cat that has come into my life has been a stray. I'm also a person that goes out of my way to help just people in general. My father and my mother always joke that I would take in stray people as well. So I'm always just, that's kind of just how I've always been. So kept going through that, and I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't content on the name that I had. And then just thought about it. My favorite blend of tea is Earl Grey. I'm drinking it right now. So Earl Grey and then Stray. So it just has this vibe that I liked. As soon as I said it out loud, I was like, this is it. This is the name. And I've stuck with it. So
I love that. I see the site is just really basic right now. Just kind of like let you know some basic information, which is fine because you're also on social media, which is awesome. And I see that you're starting the storytelling. Even that storytelling, I know the one you were talking about the cage getting stolen. Are the traps expensive, by the way?
Yes. So the ones that I use, $75 a trap. Yeah, wow. They're a bit expensive. And I purchased my own, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, just because, once you're the cat person, you are the cat person. So I I used to borrow traps from a group in Philadelphia. Shout out to Temple Cats. You guys are fantastic. They would always, they were always so nice and would let me borrow these things. So I would go into Philly, pick up a trap or two, bring it back into Jersey, go do whatever I was doing, and then, drop off the cats and then bring them back to Philly. And I was like, you know what? I'm always the one doing this, and they're so inundated with their own cats because they're in the city. That's a major, focus for them. I'm like, I don't want to keep taking their traps to do my thing. So I went and I bought my own. And then I don't know who would take it, but I hope it's doing them some good, whatever they needed it for.
Maybe it'll just pop back. That is a very interesting.
I was like, what?
I want to catch my own cat. I don't know. That's very interesting. But if that's a good thing to know. So the traps as well as the vet type situations and things like that, those are big areas of expense right now while you guys are raising funds for the cafe. Do you have any type of timeline or goal time for your cafe as far as doors open, or are you just flowing with how things flow?
Kind of flowing with it, but in like, if everything were to work out absolutely perfectly, no hiccups at all, I would love to be open like late 2021. Whether it's late fall or early winter, that's kind of where I want to be.
And that's a wonderful goal date. That's a wonderful goal date for where you're. Sometimes, we push our goal dates maybe a little too close, and then we're getting kind of frustrated with things. But yeah, I think that's a perfect goal date. The great thing I will give you a couple of tips. So social media, I think you're doing great in storytelling. Continuing to tell those stories is great for social media. I love the format that you've done and the picture, and just kind of continuing telling the stories about what's going on with the nonprofit. As far as building is concerned, I'll give you a couple of tips. Number one, I've worked with a lot of nonprofits that have done all types of unique, flexible things when it comes to property. Always let them know that you're a nonprofit organization. One thing that a lot of properties will do, especially if it's something that's been empty for a while or for some odd reason has not been, there's 3 different ways you can kind of get some funding in that area. One is there's a lot of organizations, businesses, individuals that donate buildings to nonprofits. It is rare, but it happens. It's a little bit more common for them to donate buildings and donate property that has some issues, things that need to be repaired, which is still fine because now you have that donated property and now you can grant fund for, which is a little bit easier. When you have one thing already available, hey, I have this property, now I'm funding for it to get fixed up and things like that. Funders, donors are seeing that, oh, okay, they already have the property piece of it. So now they're coming kind of with something already in hand. So that's one option. The second option is a lot of times there's a lot of properties that will do some type of flexible arrangement when it comes to leasing property. So if something has been on hold for some time, there's something that they call a temporary lease. Is it temporary or seasonal? May not be saying it right, but what it means, and I've had a whole lot of them set up, is they charge you a very, very low percentage of the rent. For an example, the last one I worked with, it was $3,000 per month for rent for this unit. They charged them $300 as a nonprofit. $300 per month, but here's the deal with these situations is the property still stays on market for that full amount. And should someone come along and be ready to take it on for that full amount, the nonprofit has first dibs of saying, hey, I'm ready now. I've built up. We've gotten some business going. Sometimes with commercial property, that could be 1.5 to 2 years. Yeah. Which is a great start off for the nonprofit. So that's another option as well when it comes to property. But just most importantly, letting them know that you're a nonprofit and that you have the ability to give tax write-offs, because there's a lot of when it comes to leasing or when it comes to purchasing property, a lot of the owners can benefit from that tax write-off as well. So just making sure you have those options out there. Also letting them know what you're trying to do. You may even bump into somebody who happens to love cats too, and they're like, we would love
an ideal world.
Absolutely. There was a movie I was watching a while back. I forgot what it's called, but she said cats would like just come to her. Like it seems like she would just always bump into like, are they just, you know, it's
I wish I was kidding when I say they come to my front door at this point. Like
like literally like, hey, we heard,
I've gotten two that way. I'm like, how
we
how
heard
did you know
you're
how to
the
find
lady.
me?
I had a daycare for 10 years and I literally felt like kids would just come to me. Like I would be
They
on
know.
vacation
They can
trying
sense
to not be
it.
around, and they would just swim up like, I'm like, you know. So that tells you that you're in your purpose and you're in your calling. So that's awesome. It's been so good chatting with you
I
today.
know. Thank you so, so much.
No
This has
problem. I
been
will say,
absolutely great.
and you definitely do good on live. If you're not coming on live on your social media, interviewing your board members, giving tips on cat care and fostering and things like that, maybe for January 2021, I would definitely suggest um, doing something like that as well. Any other questions for me before I let you go?
No, no, thank you so much just for having me. Like, this
No
has been absolutely
problem.
fantastic.
No problem. Oh, Gayla said group engagement is so beneficial. Absolutely. She had said that back when we were talking about that group engagement. Absolutely. Getting in those groups. Have you personally picked up a lot of things from the groups that you're a part of that's been beneficial to the nonprofit?
Yeah, it's actually like it's a lot of like information that I never would have thought about. So like somebody will do something differently than like, I read online and it works. So I'm like, okay. So it's a lot of just knowledge exchange. It's a lot of, it, one of the tricks that I learned from one of the groups was, if you're trying to catch a cat that's like a little more tricky, you know,
Mhm.
um, what you can do, is take a chicken wing, tie it to the top of the crate. So then when they come, they go to, grab it and go, and they can't because it's tied to the top. So that makes them step in further to like investigate, and then it helps trigger the trap a little bit easier. But like, I never would have thought to tie a chicken wing to the top, to the roof of a
Never.
trap. Never would have thought. But it's just all little things like that, where it's just these little tips and tricks, and you know, different little things that you never would have thought about because it's just such a weird, oh, I never would have thought to, do it this way or do that end.
Yeah. Oh, she said, I just caught the tail end, but plan to watch the replay. This is great. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank
I
you
want to
so
have
much.
you on, Lisa, very soon. She's one of our nonprofits, actually does some life coaching and also has a ministry as well. But that's funny, the pun in that, the tail end. I love the tail end.
I didn't catch
It works out perfectly. All right. Well, it was so good talking with you guys. If you want to connect to Amanda, we're going to have her social media links as well as her website right in here. Her website and her social media link also has the link there for Indiegogo. And if you guys, she definitely is saying that she has good reviews after you set up Indiegogo. That's the hardest part. So if you want to set that up for your nonprofit, that may be a suggestion as well. I will see you guys at 11 o'clock a.m. this Saturday. I'll be on live and just in advance, I'll let you guys know next week. This week we'll be on live Saturday at 11 a.m. But we will be taking next week, the day after Christmas, off. Just going to vacation and things like that. But I will see you guys in the next live. Until then, remember that as long as you're creating value, like Amanda is in these wonderful kitty lives, then you're also going to attract that funding. You add the value first, and that's one thing that she's doing and doing well. Even before setting up the nonprofit, has been adding value in this area. And a lot of times, a lot of new nonprofits start that backwards. So start with that value, and everything else kind of will fall into place. So I will see you guys in the next live. Thank you so much for watching.